This is John Kohler with OKRod.com. This is part 3 of 4 parts in this part of my coconut presentation entitled Crazy for Coconuts that I gave in Prescott, Arizona at the Raw Spirit Festival. I'm going to show you how to open a coconut and even going to get somebody up from the studio audience and teach them personally how to open up a coconut and share some other really cool coconut information. I guess the next thing we'll get into is how to open a coconut. So besides the cleaver way, which is barbaric, I found a way how to do this, and since I always learn and try to improve what I'm doing, this is the most efficient and safest way to open a coconut I've learned. I'll share it with you guys, and then a couple lucky people might get a personal lesson to show you how to do it. So basically what I use is a standard chef's knife, and I used to have, this one is actually from the dollar store in Las Vegas. So this is a dollar knife from the dollar store, chef's knife, and when you're selecting a knife to use, what you want to do is you want to try to bend it, and you want it not to bend. You want it pretty flat and pretty thick. If it bends, it's not a good coconut knife to use. You also want a nice full tang, so this is a nice full tang, and I don't know how they make these for $1. But anyways, and the other thing you want is you want a nice curve at the end. You don't want it to come to a point. Then all I simply do, and I never unwrap the coconut out of the plastic, because if you do, then you're touching the part that has been dipped in sulfides and thiamabenzol, and you might absorb it. So I try to minimize the risk. So leave it wrapped in the plastic. Then we just take the knife, put the coconut down, and cut down. It helps if you sharpen your knives regularly. So now I'm just cutting it off, and basically if you looked at one of these coconuts, this is the bottom of the coconut, so actually it's kind of like this. We're cutting down to this, and we're just taking off all the husk. And we're just getting it down to the nut, or the hard shell. So I like to just do it in all one piece, so it just comes off in one piece, so it's easier to clean up, but if you're not that good, you can have it come off in many pieces. Then you can see we have the shell here, and this is like looking at the coconut like this, so the eyes are on this side, the eyes are actually on the bottom, and the eyes are where the softest part of the coconut. This is the hardest part of the coconut on the top. Then basically, if you look closely, there's 3 veins. There's always 3 veins on a coconut, unless it's genetically modified, then there might be 4, but they don't genetically modify them yet, so that's a joke. So anyways, there'll be 3 veins, and you want to select between the veins where there's like half. There'll be a vein, there'll be a section that's like a quarter, and a half. I put the coconut down, then I basically take the knife at an angle like this, I don't know, probably about 3/4 of an inch down, and hold it like that. Then I'll just take my hand and put it up to the end of the knife here, so it's level. And then I just take my other hand, my open palm, and just tap it. So you tap it in, and if it taps in and you could leave it and let it hang like that, then you've gone far enough. If it falls over, you haven't gone far enough. So if you have to sometimes go a little bit farther, you could just tap it again, and it goes in a little bit further. And then once you get this stage, then you just basically bring down the knife to being parallel with the table, like that. Second step, third step. How many guys or girls have ridden motorcycles? One. Wow, 1 girl, no guy. 2 girls, 3. Wow, no guys in here has been rode motorcycles. What's up? All these girls, man, come on, guys. Jeez, I got a dirt bike and a street bike. Okay, so then you just you're riding a motorcycle, giving it gas, and you go back and forth, right? And then basically what'll happen is you'll pop the top off. And then once you do that, I usually, sometimes the meat will come off, sometimes I won't. I'll just take the knife and shave it around. You get the meat off, we're gonna put that in our smoothie. And then the next thing is you're gonna take the water and dump it out. And this way you lose very little water, if any at all. The other thing that's really nice is now have a nice sized hole, because most people will lop the top off and then they'll take the big cleaver and whack it in half. But then when you do that, you always get shell fragments, and all those shell fragments, once again, are dipped in the fungicide and sulfides that you probably don't want mixed up with your meat. So then I take a nice spoon that has a nice, thick handle here, because I have many spoons in my kitchen that are bent. Or the better thing that I didn't bring today with me is like a ice cream scoop. So ice cream scoops are really nice because they usually have really thick handles that won't bend on you. So that's another trick. Then I'll just go in and take out the coconut meat. And then we're going to put that in our smoothie. So the other thing I try to encourage everybody to do is to use whole foods whenever possible. And so in this recipe, we're basically just using the coconut, the water, and the meat together. So that would be more of a whole food than just drinking the water alone. But for the most part, I would drink the water before I eat the meat. And some people like to eat this meat plain. I've come to the point now where I could barely ever eat this meat plain unless I'm really starving, because to me this meat doesn't taste good, but you give me this meat, I'll eat it until I'm stuffed. But yeah, this meat just doesn't appeal to me, so normally I would blend up this meat now. And I used to live with a fellow, and he actually used to work for me, and I met him when he first went raw. I've been raw for probably about several years at that point. How many people know Matt Monarch? A couple of people know Matt Monarch, but yeah, a lot of people don't know that Matt actually interned or worked for me, in his early years before he went off to bigger projects and bigger things. And he would eat durian and coconuts were the things I remember him eating the most. He would love coconuts so much, but he was kind of great. He would drink all the coconut water, and he would just like throw away the meat. So he was like, I wouldn't say wasteful, but my mom taught me not to be wasteful and eat every last thing and always use any food. I mean, food is valuable, right? But he didn't value the meat, he valued the water, and I could appreciate that because I value the water probably more than the meat. But that being said, I didn't want to waste the meat. So if you don't use the meat like in a smoothie, what do you do with the meat? So there's a couple things. The easiest thing is you just take the meat out like this, and then you would dehydrate it on a dehydrator sheet. And the young meat dehydrated, just whole pieces like that, makes what my friend Dr. Rick Dina, he calls it white chocolate, because the meat is already sweet and then it has a nice fatty flavor and consistency. The other thing that I'll do, if I have a little bit of time at the end, is I'm gonna make my coconut vanilla pudding. And that's amazing. So I use a lot of the coconut meat with a little bit of water, just enough to get it to blend, and then I'll use some dates and a vanilla bean. So let's move on and open another coconut. Who would like to come up and get personal coaching on how to open a young Thai coconut? Anybody? All right, come on up, man. So do you remember the technique? Yes. All right, so we'll let you do it, and if you do anything wrong, I'll correct you and help you out. So basically, you turn the coconut on its side. He's going to cut out all the husk. Oh man, when you're doing that, go all the way down to the center to just get the piece off. It's easier. When you get real good, you can kind of leave it on like that, but we're just going to go for it like most people would. So he's going to cut all the way down and just cut the whole husk off to see the bottom basically of the coconut. So he's cut most of the husk off here. But the problem is that he didn't shave it all the way down to the nut. So this is very critical that you shave all the husk off so you just only see the hard shell of the coconut. It's very important because if you don't get all the husk off, the husk actually keeps the coconut held together so like other animals and things in nature can't basically break through it. So I've been to places like the Caribbean where I've gone on I wouldn't call it abandoned beaches, and I found like whole coconuts. And how many people have saw the movie with Tom Hanks, Castaway? And Tom Hanks finds a coconut, and they do time lapse. So he's like there beating on it and trying to get it open, and then he finally gets it open. And he gets a little bit out. Well, I'll tell you, I have opened coconuts, with my bare hands and rocks on the beach. It took me about 2 hours. But then it also depends on the coconut, the age of it, and everything. But it can be done, but it's very difficult. All right, so that's looking pretty good. I'd probably shave off a little bit of this more. So what he's done is he shaved a lot off on this side, but then on this side, he didn't shave a lot down. And what happens is when you crack into there, it's going to make a concentric kind of circle kind of device. And if he cracks it here, it's going to make a circle underneath the husk, and then it won't be able to pop the top off. So yeah, it took me about 2 hours to get the coconut open, so it can be done. There's other tools you could use. Oh, and I didn't talk about the coconut sprout either. So once you get one of these and it's brown, how many people have eaten coconut sprout before in here? A couple people, great. Yeah, so you guys know how good it is. So what happens is once the coconut palm tree grows out, because this is the seed, there's a tree that grows out, the meat inside kind of like stays the same, but the water turns into this foamy, I can only describe it as angel food cake type consistency. And it's simply amazing. Depending on the state you get it. If it's older, then it gets kind of more dry. If it's younger, it can be small and really wet and watery. Some are really sweet, some aren't quite as sweet, but they're absolutely amazing. And I love eating a coconut sprout, or in Hawaii they call it Queen's candy. So that's really rare to find. You could generally only find that if you're like I just go hunting for sprouting coconuts on the beach to find them usually. Oh, that's an awesome job. This is cleaner than I did, but it took him a little bit. All right, so you're ready for the next step.
Okay.
Remember how to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, do you see the 3 veins here?
Yes, uh-huh.
So like this is a quarter, that's a half, so I'd probably do it right about there.
Okay.
sounds, yeah, right there.
John, can
By
you
the
explain
bin?
how to find that again? How to
Oh,
find
yeah,
that?
sure.
Show us the bins.
So if you look really closely, you'll see these veins, and if I pass like, well, that's not a good example, but this one's not really a good example either. But I know I can pass this top around. I'm gonna pass that top around. So that's the top I took off the other one, but you'll see the 3 veins, and 2 of the veins basically make a quarter, and then the 1 vein makes a half. And you always want to hit it between the half because the veins are the strong point of the coconut, just like the bones, for lack of a better word. So yeah, go ahead, man, right there, you were good. So he's gonna put it in at about that angle, bring his hand up to the edge right here, so it's like level. And sometimes coconuts have a funny bottom, so you gotta tap hard and fast. Perfect. And now you're gonna lower the level down to being flush with the table. Perfect. Now rock like a motorcycle. Back. Pretty good. Good enough, man. That'll do it. So he's a little bit rusty. I mean, I make it look easy, but you know, even he was this your first time doing it like this?
Yes, it's the first.
So this is his first time. Let's give him a round of applause. Good job. Right, yeah, so you know, even you know, if you haven't done it before, it's really easy. Got a little bit of coaching, and I do have videos online. I do want to mention that, so it's on my little handout sheet. So I have a website, youngcoconuts.com. I have videos showing all the different coconut tools that I use, and I sell many of them if I'm not out of stock, because they run out of stock really fast.
Can you repeat your website?
Yeah, grab these little cards.
Oh, it's on
You don't
there.
have one. All my websites, my active websites, are on the cards there. So I want to make sure you get one of those. The websites I like to point out the most are growingyourgreens.com. That's the one I'm most active with. I have over 310 videos now, where I actually show people how to grow in their front yard, like I had mentioned. The latest video, I went to a place, a farm near me, or a garden farm. It's an 8,000 square foot garden or farm that actually teaches children from 0 to 5 to you know, to pick foods out of the garden and to set their taste buds straight and to get them eating fresh foods early and young and get them hooked on those foods. And you know, it was great and emotional for me to be there, to know that somebody else in this world is doing similar work to me, and I think it's great. And every child needs a garden is what his saying was. And I said every family needs a garden, every person needs a garden.
Do you mention different ecosystems on your website? 'Cause I live in the desert.
Well, you're lucky because I have a second home in Vegas, and my next project is to convert my Vegas home to be growing, you know, good food year round. So I have a number of videos on growing in the desert, for sure. But I generally don't mention other ecosystems besides where I live in California. But when I do travel, I visit farms and check those out and to see what they're doing, because I always learn something when I visit a farm, some new techniques, some new way of doing things, some new rare variety that I'm not growing or something. The other website really of interest is that I really like is okraw.com, and that's my raw foods channel, so that's where I teach a lot of my raw foods teachings.
Hey, I opened a few coconuts and inside they were purple.
Okay, yeah, good question.
What is that?
So purple coconuts or black coconuts or grayish coconuts on the inside are going bad. So don't eat the meat.
I ate them.
You'll be all right. Nothing's going to happen, but they're going bad. So take them back if you can take them back. Whole Foods will take any produce back if you have the receipt if you bought it at Whole Foods. But they also charge sometimes $2 or $3 for a coconut. I got this case of a 9 for $8 in Las Vegas this trip. In the summertime, coconuts prices go up, and in the wintertime they drop because I think they're seasonal overseas, but they always have them year round. Let's see. Yeah, so it's bad. Sometimes I'm pretty cheap, so sometimes what I'll do is I'll like pour out the water and I'll sip the water a little bit. The water tastes all right or marginal. I'll drink the water because the water's still good for you.
Right.
But then I'll dump the meat. But if the water tastes bad, I'll spit it out and rinse my mouth out.
Okay.
So, but then just if you want to be safe, just don't eat it.
All right.
If you want to be cheap, you can do what I do.
Yeah, I might eat it.
So thank you for watching part 3. Hope you've learned now, and you should be an expert opening coconuts and other good coconut info. This was part 3 of part 4. One final part. Part 4 is up next, where I'm going to show you how to make it a delicious cactus cooler using the coconut water, the young coconut meat, and Nepalese cactus pears. Oh, it's so good. So check the YouTube sidebar for that video. Once again, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Keep eating raw.